The timeline is a new view in Project 2010 that's great for distilling key information about a project. You can emphasize a few important tasks on the timeline or add key milestones as callouts. But the timeline also provides an easy way to adjust the dates you see in the primary view in Project. You can drag the ends of the timeline bar or drag the bar itself so the timescale shows the dates you want. If the timeline doesn't appear above the primary view, click the View tab and then turn on the Timeline checkbox. Project displays the timeline above the primary view. The timeline shows the start and finish date for the project. A light blue bar indicates the date range that's currently visible in the Gantt chart timescale. To scroll through the dates in the timescale, point at the blue bar in the timeline. When you see a four-headed arrow, you can drag to the left to move the Gantt chart timescale back in time, or to the right to move forward in time. To change the earliest date you see in the timescale, drag the left end of the blue bar in the timeline. To change the latest date, you drag the right end. You can also change the duration that appears in the timescale by dragging the zoom slider in the status bar, down in the right corner of the window. To add tasks to the timeline, or customize it in other ways, first click the Timeline pane, and then click the Format tab. To add a task in your project to the timeline, click Existing Tasks. The Add Tasks to Timeline dialog box opens and displays checkboxes for every task in the project. You can turn on the checkboxes for the tasks you want to add to the timeline, such as Finalize Lease, and Open House. Then click OK. You can see the Finalize Lease task as a bar in the timeline. When you select a task in the timeline, you can show it as a bar or a callout. Bars show up within the timeline bar and are good for individual tasks you want to highlight. Callouts appear above the bar, which is good for milestones or project phases. To change between the two, select the task in the timeline, and then on the Format tab, click Display as Bar or Display as Callout. You can also insert new tasks, callouts, or milestones on the timeline. In this case, let's add a callout. On the Format tab, click Callout Task. Then, in the Task Information dialog box, you give the task a name, and you can type a date. In this case, 3/31/2011. Click OK to add it to the timeline. And there's our payment. To remove a task from the timeline, you can simply select it, right-click, and then choose Remove from Timeline. On the Format tab, clicking Detailed Timeline toggles between showing bars and showing bars with the task name and dates. Let me expand this so that you can see that. Here's the bar without any text. And when I click Detailed Timeline, it shows the text in the bar. When the Pan and Zoom checkbox is turned on, as it is here, you can drag the timeline bar to change the dates in the timescale. However, if you want to set the timeline to show the full project date range, turn off this checkbox. If you want to share the timeline view with others, on the Format tab, click Copy Timeline. You can send it by email, or you can paste it into another program like PowerPoint. When you choose an option, Project places the timeline on the clipboard so you can paste it into the destination program you want. The timeline view is usually a narrow band above the main view in the project window. Its claim to fame is emphasizing a few key tasks, so don't try to stuff every project task onto it. But you can also use it as a shortcut for adjusting the dates that appear in the timescale of the main view. For instance, to scroll around in time or to quickly show a specific date range.